Say, want to have more fun? Then come on along and let's join the Pepsi crowd.
One of the earliest paying jobs Dean got was in this commercial. He's the kid on the far right. It may look a little out of character from the image we know, but friends remember this side as well.
Pepsi-Cola hits the spot, a big bottle and it's got...
Jimmy, to me, was a playmate. We played in the streets of New York.
Actress Liz Sheridan shared an apartment with Dean for several months, and they were joined by a third roommate, writer and producer Bill Bast.
We spent a lot of time in the park, and we used the bullfighter's cape that he dragged around with him. I was a dancer at the time, and I liked to dance in the middle of the street, so we would always wait till the street cleaners would come, and it was 6 o'clock in the morning, and we were always dancing.
He could be really a stinker and get into a lot of mischief and behave badly, but it was half the time, 90% of the time, was affectation. It was trying out a scene on you. If he met someone new, there was an intensity that was unbelievable. He screwed into your eyes, and he stayed there until he got everything out of your brain. It was like that.
And he knew how to use what he got. Martin Landau remembers Dean gleaning advice on how to play a TV role he was rehearsing.
You're just a dirty old man in a dirty old hash joint. You're not God.
One particular role, Jim really didn't have a handle on this rather explosive young man who seemed benign and then would kind of explode. And while we were talking, he took his collar and put it in his mouth, which was a habit of his.
I thought you were my friend.
I looked at that and I said, that's it. That's your mother's breast. And his mother had died when he was very young, and emotionally, as well as visually, it was a very interesting idea. And he said something like that, and then ran back to NBC. And he did that several times in the show, to great effect.
Joey, he's trying to help. This guy wouldn't help a puppy out of a puddle. You know, he takes those...
So by the time he moved west to make East of Eden in March of 1954, Dean had begun to develop an extraordinary talent. This screen test for East of Eden shows how Dean could hold the screen just with his eyes, projecting a range of conflict and emotions that didn't seem to be acting at all.
It's all the money you lost in the lettuce business.
He was so new to Hollywood that he lived on the lot while he played the role that made him a star.
I made it for you.
Cal, you will have to give it back.
No, I made it for you, Dad. I want you to have it.
Dean did have a rebellious streak, and it came out quickly in his dealings with studio executives. This telegram from a Warner Brothers publicity man describes Dean as impossible in dealing with the press and concludes in telegram lingo he needs good scrubbing behind ears. His new income, $10,000 for East of Eden, was large enough so that he could indulge his Indiana-bred passion for racing by purchasing a Porsche.
You've won a few races, haven't you?
Oh, one or two.
Just as he completed filming Giant, and a studio ban on his driving in race cars was lifted, Dean was featured in a public service trailer for auto safety that was one of the last times he appeared in front of cameras.
Take it easy driving. Life you might save might be mine. You know?
On September 30th, 1955, Dean was on his way to an auto race, driving his Porsche toward a dangerous Y-shaped California highway intersection. A second car turned in front of his from a fork in the Y. According to a passenger in Dean's car, his last words were, "He's got to see us." In his 24 years, Dean had fused together elements of a small-town upbringing, a New York bohemian existence, life in the fast lane. He was moody and nonconformist, charming and studious, still too young to pin down. When he died, the image that would be made from those elements passed out of his control. What determined that image most powerfully was the release only 4 days after his death of Rebel Without a Cause. That timing and the publicity that followed it seemed to settle the legend of Dean as the rebel. That was the one dimension selected to represent an otherwise complex personality.
Now, I mean, Jim is basically a picture on a T-shirt. I mean, it's gotten, with each generation, the person has gotten more and more lost.
And because James Dean would never grow older, the image of the young rebel was one he could never betray. His likeness still comes off the assembly lines next to symbols of the most current fads. The commercial market in James Dean products at the beginning of the 90s is estimated to be worth in excess of $1 million a year, more than Dean earned in his lifetime. In all parts of the world, the image is celebrated. These young tourists from Japan visiting a bust of Dean at the Griffith Observatory in Los Angeles know exactly the pose to strike for photographs. So do millions of young people who have memorized the posture, the gestures, the mannerisms.
I want to walk like him. I want to talk like him. I memorize every line from every scene. I comb my hair straight back. I wear nothing but black, like it was my life plan up there on the screen.
These aspiring actors showed up in Hollywood last spring for screen tests to play James Dean himself in a biographical film titled The Legend.
I'm number 8. And what else did you tell me to say? Oh, my age, 24.
The image the world knows loomed in gigantic proportions over the scene. If there was room left for other memories, they were hard to find.
I want to play the part of James Dean because it's sort of like becoming a legend in himself.
I still get letters from people, and they just idolize the boy.
Yeah, your name and address, phone number. 3712 Beverly Boulevard, number 2, 382.
The energy was enormous, and the hunger.
You need to speak up a little bit.
The Jimmy that I knew was very gentle. Loved animals and loved children and loved old people.
I would like to be in the picture because I don't have anything to do right now at this time.
He was not a rebel at all, really.
A couple reasons why I should play the role of James Dean is because I am James Dean. I've been living it for most of my life. I guess I got lucky in the fact that when I was growing up, people said I looked like James Dean.
I think he would get a big kick out of it on a lot of levels. Because it's, you know, it's something he wanted. It's nice if it's related to the work. I think that's how Jim would like to have been remembered. And the rest of it is nonsense.